Okay, hello everyone. My name is Carl. I am a member of the Organization for Gaming, Recreation, and Education, also known as Ogre. Today I shall be talking about Star Trek Online. Star Trek Online is an MMORPG released by Cryptic Studios some a little over 2 years ago. And it was basically, it brings you into the Star Trek universe some 30 years after the events of the 10th movie, Star Trek Nemesis. It's rather fun, if you're into that kind of thing. The gameplay might leave something to be desired if you have interest in some, if you want more in-depth stuff, but it's fairly decent. Most of it revolves around starship combat, but you have ground combat things as well. The customization is where it really comes into its own, because it's a Cryptic game. They are known for their character customization. You have three different career specializations. You have tactical, engineering, and science. Science is has most of your ground heals. Tactical is damage dealing, whether it's space or on the ground. Engineering provides a lot of ground buffs and debuffs and is your main space healing. And you also have various ship classes. The escorts are your main damage dealers. Cruisers are like the tanks. They can deal a lot of damage. And science vessels are designed for more support roles. And each ship allows a different allocation of bridge officers. Bridge officers are another unique aspect, semi-unique aspect, because they function sort of like pets in other MMOs. But you can also assign bridge officers to various spots on your ship to allow different abilities. Escorts have more tactical stations. The cruisers have more engineering stations. And science vessels have more science officer stations. And also you can create a character for the United Federation of Planets, which has the ship types I described, or the Klingon Empire. Of course, you have to get to about, recently, ever since the game went free to play in January, you had to get to level 25 with a Federation character before you could start creating a Klingon character. Klingons have things like, Klingons have birds of prey, which are very maneuverable and have weapons which are very maneuverable and universal bridge officer slots. Raptors, which are essentially Federation escorts with cloaking devices, or their own cruisers, and they also have access to carriers. That's about as much as I can. That's about a rough summary of Star Trek Online. I'll go into more detail on specific portions and ships and ship categories, character classifications, character specializations in future podcasts. Any questions from my fellow Ogre members or comments?
Nope. Not really. Well, other than the one I just made now.
Right.
Well, you're kind of alone here, dude.
Right. Well, okay, this is Carl reminding all of you, with courage, even 1% can become 100%.
Hello, this is Grant Curtis of Ogre, and we're going to have a group discussion about immersion in gaming, maybe later Journey, and maybe later something else. I wanted to bring about the most immersive game that I've ever played, Far Cry 2. And before I get into that, what's the most immersive game that you guys have ever played? Joining me is Derek, Jesse, Ian, and John. Anyone, go.
For me, it had to be Gran Turismo 5.
Gran Turismo 5. And for you, Half-Life?
Half-Life 2.
Half-Life 2.
For at the time, it was extremely awesome.
And you, Ian?
For me, it was Journey.
Journey. And
for me, it was Eternal Darkness.
Eternal Darkness. Carl, what's the most immersive game that you've ever played? We're podcasting.
I'm not quite sure, but I think Star Wars: The Old Republic is a decent contender.
Okay, well, I wanted to go about Far Cry 2. We can talk about all your games later, because I'm in charge of this. Now, Far Cry 2, everything it did to keep you in the game. In most games where you would like press pause or something and go into the pause screen, a menu would come up, an entirely different overlay. And that for some, would break immersion, but what it did in Far Cry, it didn't have any of that. I'm not sure if it had a pause screen or not, but everything was detailed to keep you in the game. For example, everything is in first person. I don't think there's any moment in the game, besides the very ending, where you're not in first person, looking through your character's eyes. And that added to the immersion a really lot. It felt like you were in the game, since you could never really separate yourself out of it. Some games you could go into third person and you see behind your character's head, but this game doesn't have any of that. You could look at your map, you could press a button, and instead of going to an entirely full screen like map overlay like you would do in other games, your character would actually take out a map and you could see him holding the map in your hands. And moreover, you could hold the map in one hand and then you could drive over it. You wouldn't have to peek over your map to see where you were going. But that's one thing that really kept the immersion. Everything was as it should be to an extent inside of a video game, and it really helped with that. All the systems in the game were meant to be sort of realistic and to keep you in the experience. Everything you had to do yourself. There was no magical game-breaking experiences there. So that's something I really enjoyed about Far Cry 2. It took a while to get up to speed, but once you were, I guess the second act of the game, it really hooked you and brought you in. And then you felt like you were really one with the universe of that game.
The universe.
And, yeah, it was special. I really liked it.
It's like, wait, you can become... Since when did Far Cry 2 start sounding like a JRPG or something?
Who else wanted to talk about any of the immersive games that they've played?
Immersive games.
Well, you already mentioned the immersive game, but if you wanted to talk about something specifically that made it so immersive.
Oh, yes,
well,
yes, I do.
I know, and we already went over some of the techniques that can be used to help add immersion, like how a lot of games don't have cutscenes. Instead, this story happens and you can look around and interact while things are going on. That usually helps out a game's immersion. I mean, like a game like Mass Effect, where everything's ham-fisted into cutscenes, isn't actually as immersive as a game where instead of cutscenes, you walk around during characters talking to you, like Half-Life and a lot of other early attempts at making story in games.
Yeah, Far Cry had that too. It did that exact same thing. I don't think there were maybe one or two cutscenes where you were like dying of malaria and like crippled, so you couldn't really like move. You were just like laying in a bed somewhere. But that's, of course, still realistic. That's expected. Like in Half-Life 2, sometimes you're trapped and all you could do was move your head around.
Yeah.
But that's still not technically a cutscene, and you're still given some
control.
Yeah, interactivity. You could at least look around, and you could do that in Far Cry 2.
And what was it that I was thinking of? There was some. Damn, I lost the thought now. I'm trying to remember what it was.
Well, Ian, did you want to talk about your?
Oh yes, I would love to talk about Journey.
No, wait. Oh, yeah, immersive. Okay, yeah. Same thing.
Alright. Yeah. So what made Journey immersive for me was that it felt big to me. It felt so big and just the way all the God, I can't even describe it right now. I'm sorry. Give me a minute. Journey felt big as opposed to just being big. It's like you could interact with the world. You could interact with other people. You didn't. I felt that using a headset to talk to people over Journey would have ruined the whole thing. The only way you can communicate is through pressing the circle button to make noises, like sing. It's like sort of singing, and well, Journey can teach you a little bit about the people you play with, and you don't actually see the screen names until the end of the game, which I thought was actually pretty interesting, because, well, say that you and some other screen name from a person, you didn't like them. Was like, say the both of you got the same game, and the both of you were playing the same game. It's like, at the very end, you see that screen name. It's like, wait. Him? But, hold on. He and I are just big-time enemies. Why would he help me? It's like, I think that was a pretty interesting part of the game itself. And there were lights coming from the mountain in the distance.
Don't spoil the game like you did with the other game.
Spoilers.
No, spoilers. I'm sorry.
Don't spoil.
Don't spoil.
Don't just say
spoil.
no.
Don't spoil.
Don't spoil it.
Yeah. I wrote a review for this on DeviantArt, and I said I wouldn't spoil anything, so... yeah. Don't expect spoilers from me. So, anyway, the protagonist is faceless. The only part about that facial features is his eyes. Just glowing. It's like, I wonder if I can project myself onto this person. Seeing faceless characters without faces, you could just project yourself onto them. I think, if you think of it that way. So, which I thought was pretty neat. And what Journey does is it tells the story with so little, yet you get so much out of it. I won't spoil what the story is. That I'll leave you to figure out. But at the very end, no spoilers, I was moved. I was so moved by the end that, well, it wouldn't be manly of me to say that I cried after it. Oh wait, I just said it. So yeah, that's Journey for me. Awesomeness from beginning to end.
Well, now I guess we can talk about Journey. We were going to transition to that. I guess it's a good transitioning point, unless someone else wants to talk about something else.
We can move on?
Yeah, I guess so. Journey, I did not like the ending of Journey. I will try to do it without spoiling it, but
why?
Short story short, you never accomplish anything, is the thing.
That's debatable.
I don't think that's true.
If you interpret the symbolism...
Did you play Journey? Do you know? What do you
know? I've seen some of the critics' reviews and stuff of it, and they do talk about how the symbolism can be interpreted that the whole game is circular. So the event that you cause at the end is why you leave in the first place or something.
That's how most of that game company who made this game, these games works. They're all circular. What about it? You've heard that a counter argument that it wasn't all for nothing. You've heard a counter argument. Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, that's just the way that world works, is in a circular way.
You could have circular stories without without not accomplishing anything. I think Flow did this as well. Flow was a game by that game company as well, and it was circular. It didn't have much of a impactful story. You were just a creature going around eating things and growing, and then you would reincarnate into a different being. But kind of the same stuff in Journey, but I felt that you didn't accomplish anything because you spend this whole time climbing this mountain. You finally get there. You die. You get sent back. Nothing happens.
Spoilers.
You do die.
Spoilers much?
Spoilers, you die. Deal with it.
That's how life works.
Yes. Spoilers, you die.
Mad?
You mean like a Massive? Oh, can I spoil Mass Effect 3?
I haven't played it. I don't want to play it. I
Okay.
don't care.
I don't care about Mass Effect 3.
General consensus is that the ending sucked. Basically, no matter what happens, you die, your entire crew is stranded, and all the mass relays blow up. And people have been saying that that whole thing is a dream, and that Commander Shepard is being indoctrinated during the ending sequence. So yes. Mass Effect 3, ending that made no sense. We're gonna make, well, us synthetics will kill you organics so that you don't make synthetics that end up killing you. What? Makes no sense. And that's literally what the star kid at the end says.
I remember reading about that in a forum conversation, in a forum community discussion. It was a different community, but someone had just finished playing Mass Effect 3 and they wanted to, and they were so ticked off at the ending that they just shared it in a spoiler tag, of course. But I doubt I'll ever play Mass Effect myself.
Yeah, me neither. What turns me off from Mass Effect and Knights of the Old Republic was that the whole moral choice thing is there's really no middle ground.
What I didn't like about Mass Effect is that they were touting that all of your choices would matter, but yet each game had basically cookie cutter endings, which had the same big things happen, and your choices barely made any effect. So instead of having vastly different endings of each game, they all ended at about the same point with minor differences. And BioWare has been saying, and I know that they've done this with games in the past, where they would have endings that were completely different based off of the choices you make during the game. And that's what pissed a lot of people off too, is, at the end of the whole trilogy, everybody got railroaded into the same 3 endings, basically.
Lack of a massive.
For Ian, you wanted to debate me about Journey's ending not mattering.
Yes, to me, it looks like Journey, at the very end of the journey, it just starts all over again, and it feels like a cycle rather than just. It feels like.
Which I agree with you. Yes, it is a cycle. And in this cycle, you never accomplish anything. None of your choices, decisions matter. You have no impact on the world. You've never accomplished anything. That is my beef.
Unless you were intended to just accomplish continuing the cycle.
Okay, actually, that's.
Unless you were intended to accomplish the cycle.
Just intended to keep accomplishing the cycle.
That's that you're stuck in an infinite loop. That's your goal in life. Is that?
Well, no. Although a lot of games do have a circular kind of thing, and I mean, just because you continue that cycle, does that mean that it's a success or a failure? That's up to the individual to decide. Bastion, for instance, if you choose the rewind everything ending, it basically makes you see that everything keeps going in a cycle. It basically allows room for the New Game Plus option to make sense within the story. However, that could be something that maybe players could consider a success, is to keep trying the same thing until they get it right.
Actually, there's another thing about Journey that I found interesting. It's you've become an experienced traveler, and you see all these people who are actually just trying to journey on. That's what I loved about the co-op of the game. You could, after beating the game, you can go to any place, spoilers, go to any place you want,
I don't think that's consumer.
And you can just explore, journey around, if you will, after beating the game, of course, which I found to be kind of interesting.
Interesting, but meaningless.
Excuse me.
Does everything have to have a meaning?
Problem?
Yes, it does. A good ending needs to have a meaning. Otherwise, you just wasted all that time and accomplished nothing. If your journey doesn't matter at all, what is the point? That is my issue.
I still stand by my personal opinion that I think what the game should have accomplishing was how it affected you, the player.
It affected me in a negative way.
Well, then it accomplished something, now didn't it? Oh, snap.
It still doesn't mean
But
that it's a
it
good ending. It just accomplished,
its
wasted
job.
my time.
It did its job showing how great it is as an interactive medium.
I wouldn't call it great if I just wasted my time.
I didn't feel like I wasted my time.
How dare you? You're wrong. It's okay to be wrong.
Problem? You mad, bro?
All right.
No.
All right.
Not allowed to say that.
Let's just say that you two are going to agree to disagree because I don't think we can come to any other meaningful conclusion
Come
on
on.
this.
Yes, we will. We'll come to a meaningful conclusion because I use facts and reason, and facts and reason are always right, other than silly
Then
opinions.
screw your reason. Screw your reason.
See, look, I won because he doesn't like reason. He has admitted that.
I
he's
was
not
kidding.
admitted.
I was just having fun.
Okay, so I guess we're just going to move on to whatever the hell we want to talk about.
Yes, we should.
One thing I hate in games, random respawn locations. Especially in tribes. I'm tired of spawning in the opposite side of the map when I want to, from the place I actually want to spawn at.
Yeah, that's something I don't like either. I mean, a good game, it should have set spawn positions.
For multiplayer, at least.
Yeah.
But then, well, I mean, some games, Call of Duty would be a complete, would change if you could actually select your spawn. You basically spawn nearby teammates.
Yeah, and MMOs actually do fairly well on this. As long as you know the location of the spawn points,
But and MMOs are not intended to die.
yeah.
I'm talking about multiplayer games where death is basically gonna happen.
To be expected.
Yeah.
A constant.
Or depending on the map, quite consistent.
If they didn't have random spawn points, well, it depends on what you mean by random. Someone could just sit in the same spot and just wait for you to spawn and kill you without
Yes,
ever
but
having
I'm
to
saying
move
to
your
be able to pick your spawn points instead of having it random.
Yeah, that Battlefront worked like that.
Yeah.
Star Wars Battlefront, and I actually kind of agree with you. That was a good thing to have, being able to choose your spawn point.
Yeah, and it's kind of disappointing when some games don't have that ability. In this, you just click and it just throws you out one of your 3 random spawns for your team. And it's kind of annoying when you know where the enemy is, you want to chase them, and then it spawns you in a spawn point where you can't effectively chase them.
I could think of a few ways in which Journey's ending could have been good. It could have had an impact, and everything. I would have been completely happy with it. It's not my game. It's not my ending. But
Oh no, we're just entitled gamers is what
Yes.
it is.
retake Mass Effect.
Yeah.
But about that,
a game that I don't care about.
if you had, like say, if you accomplished bringing a flower to life in the desert in Journey, that would have been enough. If you had done something, if you would have brought one flower to life, and that could be represented by just when you spawn, there's a flower there right next to. For each time you beat the game, there's one more flower there.
Or in Journey.
In Journey.
Journey. I
Journey.
mispronounced that quite.
There's something like this in Nobi Nobi Boy. Everyone that plays contributes to the growth of a giant creature that stretches between planets in real distances. So it takes people years to stretch all the millions of meters it takes to get from like Saturn to Uranus or something like that.
To Uranus.
All Uranus.
Uranus, it's pronounced Uranus.
I actually have started taking to pronouncing it Uranus.
Uranus.
In what language is it pronounced like
Well, I sort of go for Japanese pronouncing of some of the syllables.
that? John, is that how you pronounce?
No, I don't think it would be.
Well,
I mean-
the vowel pronunciation goes. I go Japanese doing
Yes,
that.
but you speak English, so
Yeah.
that doesn't work.
But it's
And I'm
sort
sure
of a
that they
hybrid.
actually have their own name for the planet instead of using our own.
Well, okay. Basically what I do for that planet is I just go for a hybrid there.
Just so people cannot laugh at the name. Haha, you said anus.
But then people would be more, what the heck did you say?
It's pronounced. And then you get to turn it up on them. Ah, you said anus. What was I talking about? Journey? I was talking about Journey.
Yeah.
If you did something, if there was some visual representation that your whole journey mattered, then that would have made all the difference.
Maybe
Everything
there is,
would
but
have
it's
been
just
okay.
too subtle.
I don't know. There's not. There's really not.
Shut up.
Not shut up, but there's just not.
Dude.
I played the
You're
game.
bitter.
Do you have a counterpoint, Ian? Is that a counterpoint I hear? Do you have something to say rather than shut up? Huh?
Dude.
Yeah? Yeah?
Let
Yeah?
me come up with some. I'll come up with some.
Huh? Huh? You'll come up with it later? Huh?
Dude.
Huh?
Be right back.
Carl's leaving.
I'm playing it right now.
Oh, you're playing Journey.
Alright, I'll admit you have very
Journey?
good point. I admit you have very good points, but you don't always need an aftermath for the whole thing.
Doesn't need an aftermath. It just needs a solid ending.
It's like you're a soul. You were already dead to begin with. Spoilers.
You were dead the whole time.
You were dead the whole time.
Mhm.
You were just. I see the game as an ascent to heaven, as sort of a spiritual journey.
You never get to heaven if you're taking it that conclusion. Because of the
cycle
ranking
of
system,
life, death, and rebirth.
in which you never accomplish anything, and you're doomed to a cycle of endless
But
struggle.
isn't a life technically meaningless anyway? Oh,
I don't know,
gee.
for the reincarnation theorists, or the reincarnation believers, because that is a valid religion and stuff.
A valid religion. He said
You
with a
do.
straight face.
You do.
Damn.
Wait, okay. Hold on. I think I'm capturing your flag. Do I even have a flag? No, I don't have it.
Yes, you do.
Oh,
we
cool.
go from
I just whiffed a huge flag capture.
Do I still have
Anyway.
it? Yes, I do. You should probably turn on sound so you can at least hear the music that indicates that you're holding the flag.
Yeah.
Man, I've
No,
never
we
gone this
can't
fast
do
on this
that
map before.
Because this is a podcast and we can't have any disturbances.
We're still talking about video games.
What was I gonna say? Reincarnation.
Yes.
Reincarnation, it's not just an endless cycle unless you did something wrong. If you were like,
Well, they
you'd be
did
reincarnated
something.
as a bug or something if you did something wrong in some beliefs. Or in some beliefs, you'll just be reincarnated as another human and you won't get to ascend to enlightenment or whatever.
Or you could argue that this game is actually a symbol for hell. The cycle repeats over and over again.
it!
In which case, that makes it even more depressing because I don't want to play in the
It's
game
more
of hell
It's more emotionally impacting.
in a negative way.
Okay, dude, quit being a negative Nancy about the whole thing, if you will. You are without doubt the greatest negative Nancy ever. You will have so many people barging, like banging down your door after this.
If people listen to this podcast.
Nobody listens to our podcast.
Oh, I'm
I
sure.
don't think anyone listens to our podcast.
Check the views on YouTube. It's like 11,
like 12.
which is like, yeah, me listening to it. I listen to my own podcast 12 times because I'm lonely and have no friends.
You're lonely and you have no friends. You are forever
And I
alone.
listen to my podcast all day.
Forever alone.
The ranking system in Journey, each time you beat the game, your cape gets a little embroidered with...
Yeah, actually, I didn't notice that.
Yeah,
I thought that was a nice little touch.
Yeah, every time you do that, but it tells you that this is how many times you've done this, and you're still doing it over and over again, but there's really no... I think I've beaten that party to the
It's a
ground.
little disappointing not to see, like I actually was expecting something to happen after the whole thing. I'll admit it.
Mhm.
I'll admit. But you know what?
What?
Nothing else has to happen. Like, okay, I'll admit, nothing does have to happen.
But go on.
I don't have much else to
Oh,
say about that.
nothing has to happen.
Well, okay, I don't know how else to reinforce that. Alright, anyway, is that it? Is that all?
Pretty much. Yeah, I think so.
He got missiled.
We're playing Tribes here, and he's playing Journey.
Mhm.
Yeah, we had the sound turned down, podcast.
My sound is on very low.
Kessler,
Yeah, he said he would come.
yeah,
Did
well,
you
he
tell
said
him?
he'd come about 6. It's
Okay.
5:30 right now.
5:40.
5:40. You win. I concede.
I won?
Yes,
I won what?
you won the time.
I won the internet.
You won internet time.
But it meant nothing. Let the future refuse to change.
Education games. We're gonna think about. We're gonna get together and talk, or
Yeah, when Kassler gets here.
we're gonna discuss our ideas for our education games. Last time we talked about that.
Oh, we're actually podcasting it?
We don't have to, but we're just gonna discuss it. Discuss what we're gonna make out of it. If you had anything you wanted to say about education games, I know you wrote half of an article.
Yeah, I wrote quite a bit on one specific
Mhm.
aspect of education in games. But that I was going to save for a little bit later, because I'm still refining that idea. It's not complete yet, and if it's going to be part of the proposal that I'm making, it's kind of important to get it right.
So, I don't know. I rewatched the extra credits thing about
Learning?
tangential learning is what they really talked about.
Yeah.
I was kind of, well, I could understand. I was kind of disappointed because it wasn't directly relevant to what we were doing. They, instead of focusing on making an educational game, they focused on making a normal game with tangential learning elements in it.
But if you focus on making a learning game, you make a very watered down game that really nobody wants to play.
Right.
One of the things that games are so powerful as learning tools for is the fact that people will want to play it. That is the strength, and if you don't make people want to play the game, then it's useless.
Right.
Yeah.
But the people that are funding this may not see it that way. Maybe
Well,
they do.
I
Great.
just said, if people don't want to play the game, it is useless.
Right.
That is the way it is. There's no question about it.
Hopefully the people who are funding this sees it and knows about that.
Hopefully.
But if they just wanted a straight education game, if they wanted to craft...
If it's straight education, it's worthless, because then nobody's going to want to touch the damn thing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what makes games so powerful as learning tools.
I think I just airmailed you.
You did?
I didn't get the thing, but
Oh,
it was
I was
in
on the
midair.
ground when I died.
Oh, okay, never mind.
You don't get a
Maybe it was...
accolade for direct hit unless they're in the air.
Oh, okay.
But it feels great when you do it.
Yes.
You hear the little ding, and that's part of actually what I was talking about. I guess I could start off with that part of the article. I was talking about how the distribution of EXP after a match
Mm-hmm.
resembles you know, how businesses pay their employees. You get rewarded a wage based off time. You get EXP at a flat rate that everyone else gets. Then you get a slight bonus based off of your performance. And I mean, both of those are ways that a lot of businesses compensate their employees. And that's something, I mean, you don't directly even recognize it when you're playing the game. But that is, you know, something you can learn, just a small piece, but something you can learn from playing the game. Because it's a game system, and of course if you're playing the game, you have investment in it. You want to know how you can best get rewarded. And you sound down. And that's an important thing. And even the smallest bits of games can teach you stuff. It's just that there's so much that we don't even think about it, and you just can't think about it. There's just so much.
I'm feeling encouraged by, we just finished a match here, and I'm looking at all my badges and accolades. I'm getting a whole bunch of golds and like bronze ribbons, and I get like 2,000 XP, and that feels good, and I want to play more and continue that because I like the positive reinforcement aspect of getting stuff and earning stuff. And
my business teacher was talking about working with me and maybe another student on something. Oh yeah, are you Blood Eagle or Diamond Sword right now?
I'll be Diamond Sword.
Okay.
What do you think?
Your business teacher was saying?
He was talking about getting a business game for business, but he wanted to do like the whole quiz question thing that just feels shoehorned in. And I was telling him, there's ways to make game systems teach these things instead of relying on just shoehorned quiz questions that nobody wants to do.
Mm-hmm. I had a theory I wrote an article about this too. I have a theory that maybe because these are college students, maybe they're just a little bit more motivated to learn the material than like something like an early childhood game where you're tricking children into learning from games. If it was just a straightforward education.
That's why I'm saying you don't have to trick people to get them to learn.
Mm-hmm.
You have to engage them. And if they're engaged, they will be learning whatever you teach them. And teaching through gameplay is something it's going to be a while before we get it right. But getting it right is important because that's when the whole game of what school is changes. Damn.
But hear me out. My theory is these are college students. They're paying for the class eventually, or they're paying for the class anyway. Yeah, they're going to be a little bit more motivated to do all this stuff. So if they're
motivated, then the game's going to be that much more useful for it.
Mm-hmm. If we could show them through the gameplay that it isn't that bad, or that it can be fun, or that it's engaging. If we make what they're paying for and make it engaging and not just like homework, a slog, just filling out these questions that you don't really want to do.
Mm-hmm.
If you put that in the game, of course there's probably a million ways to do it, this is just one way, but if you could do that, I think you could also be successful doing that as well.
Yes.
Just making it not so much as of a slog.
Mm-hmm. And that's part of what engaging them is about. So that's one of the reasons why we keep playing these games, is we constantly get rewarded. So we not only get rewarded, but we feel like we have an investment in the game. We put our time into it, and we get good at the game. We get skilled at the game, and that makes it that much more important to us when we get something in the game. We feel like, oh yes, I just captured the flag. That's worth some points, and I can use that then in this match, and then I also get rewarded in the long term. I get rewarded for getting more points during a match by getting more EXP I can use to buy upgrades. That's something that's important about games, and that's one more of the reasons why people keep playing games, and to then attach education to that. So, of course, the educational part of the systems that are in place is another story, but engaging a player and making them feel like they have investment on what they're doing in the game is important. That's first and foremost what's important. Everything else is just cool bean, extra, awesome, cool stuff, whatever.
There might be
I'm too busy trying to be fast in this game to really think about what I'm saying here.
We all gotta go fast sometimes.
Wow.
It might be a meaningless distinction, but like the difference between gamification, which is I guess basically almost what you were talking about, and making a like education game, like flat out education game. It might be a meaningless distinction because what you were talking about, taking normal things, adding game mechanics to them, like leveling and EXP, and stuff like that.
That's one cheap trick that a lot of MMORPGs use to keep players engaged. A lot of online games do that same thing.
I don't think there really needs to be a difference. As long as you're playing and as long as you're learning, I think the goal has been accomplished for education games.
Yes.
But our funders may not see it that way.
Yeah, and I mean, with educational games, I know Tribes doesn't have the most realistic physics simulation, but you do learn a lot from being able to ski around and whatnot about how just physics kind of works. Redirection of motion and stuff is an important part of gameplay in Tribes, and in order to be good, you have to learn kind of how to move around in the game world.
Which we are currently doing with much concentration.
Yeah, it's just so, it feels good when you hit a really, really fast speed, because it's very hard to get up to the speed and maintain it. And it's rewarding in and of itself to learn how to use physics to your advantage. And, I mean, since you have a jetpack, for example, this is something really basic, but in order to learn to play effectively, you have to kind of learn how to use your jetpack, and the biggest thing is which direction you're going in, up and down, and how to use your jetpack to modify that. For example, if I want to be able to hit a downward slope and move much, much faster, it's better if I use my jetpack to extend the height of my jump by using it while I'm going up and not while I'm going down. And once I start going down, to stop using it and just hit that slope as fast as I can downward in order to gain as much speed as I can from that slope. And that's something it's hard to do in gameplay until you learn it, but when you learn it, it's like you know it so well it doesn't matter. You can do it with your eyes closed once you get good. And that's what it's about, is learning, making things second nature for people through gameplay. And not just like, sitting them down in a classroom for 2 hours and telling them how to do stuff, but actually having them do stuff. That is what's important about gaming.
So,
you died.
yeah,
You lost the flag.
I had the flag.
I know.
It's like Dark Souls. You died.
Well, I guess we've covered some topics here.
I want to make this a shutout. Aw, dang it. 4-1. So close to a shutout.
So I'm gonna teach these guys how to play Journey the right way.
Excuse me. I know how to play.
The right way, I said.
Oh, shut up.
Oh, come on, no.
Oh,
No!
We're all going too fast to stop now.
Yeah,
Momentum.
we gotta keep going fast.
Yeah.
Gotta go fast.
Oh, no.
Gotta
We
go
don't need to
fast.
subject anyone to Sonic X.
But we love
Faster,
it.
faster, faster.
You gotta go super fast.
What the hell? Oh, there's someone else here. Someone else.
Sonic X!
God.
Stay tuned to the full song. I'm gonna sing it for you.
No.
All of it.
I wish. Ah, man, I hate chain gun heavies in this game. One of the things about like all these games is when you play them and you learn military tactics tangentially just from playing the game. It's kind of fun to know how to do stuff like a lot of evasive maneuvers that people learn how to do, like breaking line of sight and stuff. They do like real militaries drill with these things, and then in games you just do them and do them and do them and do them and do them, and as you're playing, you learn automatically a lot of the military tactics. I mean, in Tribes it's not very realistic. It's very futuristic, and there's a lot of technology that doesn't exist and stuff. But there's still a lot of stuff that you learn from just the way that you have to play in order to be successful.
I've been playing Arma 2, and I feel I joined like a realistic military clan, and I feel like I'm learning a lot from them.
Yeah.
I've attended some training sessions. They told me the names for some things and how to situations and things like that. It's military stuff, so it's going to be more realistic and more feasible to use in real life than this game. But I feel like I've learned stuff from that.
There's one thing I would like to talk about a little bit.
Yes.
It's not precisely related to games, but it is connected to them. Game trailers.
The site?
No, not the site.
Oh.
Fun little trailers for video games. There are some really interesting ones. Like like Team Fortress 2. I never played the game, but I've watched some of the trailers, and they're rather interesting.
The heavy meet the medic, that sort of stuff.
Yeah. I am heavy weapons guy.
And
This is my weapon. It fires $200 custom tube cartridges at 4,000 rounds per minute. It costs 10,000 rounds per minute.
Oh fuck!
It costs
Oh god! I just bought my ski.
$400,000 to fire this weapon for 12 seconds. Oh
Bastard!
Who touched my gun? Some people think they can outsmart me.
Maybe.
Maybe. I have yet to meet one who can outsmart bullets.
Welcome to Ogre Comedy Theater. We'll be singing songs for you and reenacting trailers. All
Watch
night.
us sing and dance like monkeys.
Sniper's a good job, mate.
Next up, pony songs.
At challenge work, at the doors, I can guarantee you won't go hungry. Because at the end of the day, as long as there's 2 people left on the planet, someone's gonna want someone dead.
I want someone dead.
Boom. Headshot.
Anyway,
I like how it didn't show my, 3 gotta go fasts this match.
Well, we're just rambling here, so we're gonna stop this. Thank you, loyal viewers who watch our podcast week from week, eagerly awaiting them.
People actually to watch these.
Good night.